Good morning, everybody. Want to quickly touch on a point that in terms of when you're looking at calories, I think it's important to point out that we have a tendency as humans, everybody, to overestimate the amount of energy we burn when we exercise and underestimate the amount of calories that we ingest. And this is often how we get into these sort of rationalizations with ourselves where we say we'll have a muffin, let's say like 450 calories, and we say, oh, I went for a walk to burn it off. That walk probably burned 150 calories. So I mean, if you went for 4 walks, maybe you could have equaled it out. But that being said, I will remind you again that I do not want you to think about calories as like a trade-off. Yes, calories in, calories out matter, and you've heard me say this before. But the point is this: you can't look at, okay, I've ate this many calories, so I can burn this many calories. And I've always said, you're looking for a calorie deficit regardless if you're exercising or not. As you get closer and closer to your goal, you start to add in the calories that you burnt with your workouts so that you can keep it at level. Right now, we're treating exercise as a bonus when you're losing body fat. Because it sort of allows you to have days where you don't work out, maybe it was too busy or whatnot, and still see progress, right? And if you look at the hierarchy of fat loss, as I've mentioned before, you look at the bottom rung is calorie deficit first, right? So back to my point. I don't want you looking at, oh, I ate this, so I have to tomorrow go and work it off. That sort of mindset doesn't work because we tend to have it's a lot easier to have calories coming in than it is expending in short amount of times. So it's possible in the long run to burn equally or more, but in the short term, it's a lot easier in the same amount of time to take in calories than to expend that same amount, right? So what I want you to start to look at is start to underestimate how many calories you're burning on purpose and start to overestimate how many calories you're taking in. Because that sort of mindset is going to start to really give you some more of a balancing effect from the bias that happens in our brain already. So let's say if you look at the machine, it tells you burnt 150 calories. In your head, you probably say, okay, then maybe it's 120. Maybe it was more because the machines, I'll talk about that in a moment, but underestimate it. Same thing when you're tracking your calories. Sometimes it says it had 80 calories in that. Assume that it probably had 100, right? So maybe that's why you leave a little bit of a buffer room at the end of your day. And sometimes you're sort of building up a buffer for the end of the week when you're having your 80-20 over the weekend kind of thing. But back to the exercise, the amount of energy you burn is a factor of your height, weight, gender, your fitness level, the intensity of your workout, and a number of other things, right? So these sort of factors can play into this equation that piece of machinery is not necessarily taking into consideration. So when the cardio machine tells you burn a certain amount of calories, I want you to take it in mind, bring that number down so you underestimate it a little bit more, but realize it's not accurate. In most cases, if I remember the stat specifically, the machines overestimate by 15 to 20%, and sometimes the calories in the packages can be off as much as 25%. So it's possible that a company that makes a package of food is allowed to have some variance. Sometimes it'll be under, sometimes it'll be over, up to 25%. So it's impossible to be 100% accurate. I've told you this before. So the next best thing you do is just be as accurate as possible. But always keep in mind so that you're not rationalizing. We tend to overestimate the amount of calories we burn, and we tend to underestimate the amount of calories that we ingest. With that knowledge, I want you to take on your day and let me know how it goes. Take care.